The airline clerk barely glanced up as she handed a small slip to the elderly man. "Your seat is now 27C," she said without emotion. Elliot Mercer frowned, confused. "I was booked in business class," he said quietly, his voice calm but firm, the same voice that once led troops on difficult missions overseas. "I'm sorry, sir." "There was a change," she replied flatly, already turning to the next passenger. No apology, no respect, no care. Elliot looked down at the ticket, then at the bronze medal resting on his chest, the Distinguished Service Cross. A few nearby passengers glanced his way. Most ignored him, while some quickly looked away. He nodded to himself. He'd faced worse slights in his life, much worse. But still it stung. With a slow shuffle, his cane tapping softly on the floor, Elliot moved down the narrow jetway. At 83, his movements were slow, his body aged beyond his years, but his presence was still commanding. He reached the back of the plane. Row 27, middle seat. A teenager in a hoodie sat in the aisle, earbuds in, scrolling through his phone. By the window, a mother gently rocked a crying toddler. Elliot squeezed into the tight space, knees hitting the tray table, shoulders cramped. No room, no dignity. He sat, facing forward, silent. No expectation of honor, just a bitter taste of being overlooked. Minutes passed, then a hush spread through the cabin. Heads turned as a tall man in a sharp suit stepped into the aisle, flanked by two attendants. His name badge gleamed. Lucas Sterling, CEO of Skyward Airlines. "Mr. Mercer?" he asked softly. Elliot looked up, surprised. "Yes, that's me." Lucas smiled kindly. "I'm Lucas Sterling, president of this airline. May I have a moment with you?" The cabin quieted further. The teenager beside Elliot pulled out his earbuds, sensing the moment. "I just learned what happened at the gate," Lucas said, voice heavy with regret. "There was a serious mistake. You were supposed to be in business class. That seat was yours, and it was assigned to someone else by error. I take full responsibility." He paused, then added, "We've prepared your rightful seat up front. If you'll allow me, I would be honored to escort you there myself." Elliot remained still for a moment, then slowly rose. As he stood, the cabin burst into applause. Some passengers rose, a few saluted. One attendant quietly wiped away a tear. It was real, unscripted and genuine. As they walked forward, Lucas leaned in and said, "Your service and courage earned more than a seat. You have our deepest gratitude. What happened back there does not reflect who we are or who we want to be." Elliot managed a small, humble smile. "Thank you, son. More than you know." In business class, Elliot settled into his proper seat, 27A. The crew surrounded him with quiet care. One offered a fresh blanket. Another placed a small flag pin on his tray. "Colonel," an attendant said softly, eyes shining, "we can't thank you enough." He nodded, barely able to speak. Outside the window, the runway shimmered in the afternoon heat. Memories flooded back. The friends lost in distant lands, the firefights, the moments that never left him. And now, years later, he'd nearly been erased again, not by battle, but by an oversight. Yet, in that walk from the back to the front, something had changed. He hadn't demanded respect, but it found him anyway. As the plane began to taxi, the captain's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have Colonel Elliot Mercer on board today, a decorated war hero and a man whose sacrifice we will never forget." "Thank you, Colonel." Applause filled the cabin once more. This time, Elliot closed his eyes, not for recognition, but for the peace it brought. Respect isn't just about medals or uniforms. It's about remembering the price paid. It's about seeing someone when the world almost forgets. This wasn't just about a seat on a plane. It was about a moment where dignity was restored to one man and to everyone watching. A reminder that humility can speak louder than demands, and that even in a fast-moving world, honor still matters. As the plane ascended and the hum of the engines filled the cabin, Elliot Mercer sat quietly, letting the moment settle around him like a soft blanket. The applause had faded, but the feeling of being truly seen lingered, like a quiet flame rekindled after years of flickering in the dark. This was more than just a flight. It was a small but powerful act of recognition that resonated far beyond the walls of the aircraft. For many veterans, the battle doesn't end when they leave the battlefield. It continues in the way the world acknowledges or overlooks the sacrifices they made. Elliot's story was not unique in that sense. Across the country, countless men and women who had given everything to their nation often found themselves invisible in everyday life, their hardships hidden beneath the surface. This moment on the plane was a rare exception, a reminder that honor still has a place in a world too often distracted by convenience and haste. Sitting by the window, Elliot's thoughts drifted to the past, sharp, vivid flashes of camaraderie and loss. The faces of his fallen comrades surfaced in his mind's eye, their voices echoing faintly. How many times had they faced the unimaginable together? How many times had they relied on one another's strength when everything else seemed to crumble? Their sacrifices were woven into the fabric of his being, silent yet unbreakable. But it wasn't just about remembering the past. It was about the world moving forward, about finding ways to honor that past with dignity and respect, even in small gestures. The airline CEO's apology and gesture weren't just about correcting a mistake with a seat. They represented a deeper acknowledgement of worth, of a recognition that some things cannot be replaced or ignored. Ellie understood this better than most. The medal on his chest was more than metal. It was a symbol of stories untold, battles fought in silence, and lives forever changed. And yet, for all the medals and honors, what mattered most was being recognized as a person, a man whose life and sacrifices had meaning beyond the battlefield. His eyes scanned the cabin, catching glimpses of other passengers, some engaged in their phones, others chatting quietly. To them, this might have been just another flight. But Elliot hoped, in some small way, that what they witnessed would stay with them. That respect and gratitude aren't just formalities, but vital human values that bind us together. He remembered the mother with the crying child near his original seat, the teenager who removed his earbuds in respect, and the flight attendant who quietly wiped a tear. These simple acts, he realized, were powerful reminders that dignity and compassion are often found in the smallest moments. The flight continued, but Elliot felt lighter, as if a weight he hadn't fully recognized had been lifted. Not because of the seat, but because of the acknowledgement, the unspoken promise that he, and those like him, were seen and valued. Later, when the plane landed and passengers disembarked, Elliot moved slowly but with renewed purpose. He wasn't seeking accolades or attention. He wanted only to carry forward the respect he had received, to remind himself and others that every life touched by service deserved to be honored. In a fast world ignoring care, Elliot's story reminds us to see hidden struggles and honor sacrifice. Restoring dignity and proving respect, even small, can truly transform lives.